June 22, 2025, 3:47 a.m. Somewhere in occupied Ukraine, a Russian locomotive engineer checks his watch and yawns. Just another routine fuel run through friendly territory. He doesn't know that 73 minutes ago, Ukrainian operators locked on to his thermal signature. He doesn't know about the $8,000 investment hovering in the darkness above him. And he certainly doesn't know that in exactly 94 seconds, his train will become ground zero for a new kind of warfare. What you're about to hear about isn't just an attack. It's a masterclass in turning children's toys into instruments of precision devastation. By the time this story ends, you'll understand why military contractors around the world are having nightmares about hobby stores. 35 kilometers away, in a bunker that doesn't officially exist, members of Ukraine's Kabul 9 Special Unit stare at screens that glow with thermal death signatures. Through encrypted Starlink feeds, their modified DJI Mavic drones paint the target with the patience of electronic vultures. The locomotive's diesel engine blazes white-hot at 47 degrees Celsius. 12 fuel cars trail behind like a rosary of destruction, each one worth 70 tons of liquid war machine fuel. But here's what turns this from a simple ambush into something far more sinister. This wasn't a crime of opportunity. Ukrainian intelligence had been stalking this specific train for 96 hours. They knew its departure time from the Rostov fuel depot. They calculated its speed through this sector. Most importantly, they identified the exact 20-minute window when it would be furthest from Russian air defense umbrellas. The math was elegant in its brutality. Each car carried enough diesel to keep a Russian tank battalion operational for 3 days. 12 cars meant roughly 10 days of combat operations for 3 armored battalions. 10 days that could determine whether Russian forces break through Ukrainian lines or become very expensive scrap metal. And all these were made possible because of a simple drone. But make no mistake, the simplicity of this drone doesn't mean you can buy it at your local tech store. These weren't the drones your neighbor flies on weekends. Ukrainian engineers had performed electronic surgery on commercial DJI platforms, installing experimental firmware that extended digital zoom to 56 times magnification and flight endurance to 45 minutes. But the real breakthrough was invisible to the naked eye. Custom RF hardware with frequency-hopping spread spectrum technology that changes frequencies 1,500 times per second across multiple bands simultaneously. Imagine playing whack-a-mole, except the mole teleports between holes 1,500 times every second. And this mole carries a 2.6 kilogram shaped charge warhead. The PGL-7VL warhead creates an 85mm diameter copper liner cone that focuses explosive energy into a jet moving at 35,000 feet per second. Against tank armor, it's formidable. Against a thin-skinned fuel car, it's like detonating a nuclear bomb inside a paper bag. Unaware of what's going on above it, the train rolls forward at exactly 45 kilometers per hour. Completely unaware that physics and Ukrainian ingenuity are about to demonstrate why occupying their country was the worst business decision since the Titanic's maiden voyage. Then, at 3:48 a.m., everything changes. A Russian Lear-3 electronic warfare system erupts to life like a digital dragon awakening. Its operators have finally detected the electromagnetic signatures they've trained years to hunt. The truck-mounted system begins vomiting jamming signals across a 30-kilometer radius, generating enough RF interference to turn every civilian cell phone in the area into an expensive paperweight. The Russians deploy their full electronic arsenal. Broadband jamming floods multiple frequency ranges simultaneously. When that fails against Ukrainian frequency hopping, they switch to surgical spot jamming on the 2.4 and 5.8 GHz bands that commercial drones typically inhabit. It's electronic warfare at its most sophisticated. GPS spoofing sends false satellite signals designed to convince Ukrainian drones they're hovering somewhere over the Pacific Ocean instead of rural Ukraine. But the Ukrainian operators had anticipated this exact scenario. Inside each attack drone, precision solid-state gyroscopes detect the discrepancy between GPS lies and physical reality. Inertial measurement units track every change in velocity and direction using fundamental laws of physics that haven't changed since Newton. You can lie to satellites, but you cannot lie to gravity. The electronic chess match intensifies, but Ukraine holds the ultimate trump card. As the lead attack drone approaches its target, It unspools what appears to be a fishing line, trailing behind it like an electronic umbilical cord. But this isn't a fishing line. This is the future of warfare, wrapped in glass thinner than human hair. The fiber optic cable maintains perfect digital communication with operators 35 kilometers away. While Russians jam airwaves with millions of watts of interference, this gossamer thread carries uncompressed 1080p video, control signals, telemetry data, and GPS corrections at 1.5 gigabyte transmission rates. You can jam radio waves. You can spoof GPS satellites. You can flood the electromagnetic spectrum with enough noise to wake the dead. But you cannot jam light traveling through glass at 300 million meters per second. The Lear 3 system, worth $5 million and representing Russia's most advanced electronic warfare technology, watches helplessly as Ukrainian drones maintain perfect control through what amounts to a very long, very sophisticated extension cord. Physics just checkmated electronic warfare. 1 minute after, the first Ukrainian attack drone impacts fuel car number 4 with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel and the force of divine wrath. The 2.6 kilogram PG-7VL-shaped charge doesn't simply explode. At 2,800 degrees Celsius, it vaporizes a precisely engineered hole through 15 millimeters of Russian steel, instantly converting 70 tons of diesel fuel into an expanding fireball that announces to everyone within 20 kilometers. Ukraine remembers, and Ukraine returns the favor with interest. But Soviet engineering becomes Ukraine's unwitting accomplice. Interconnected ventilation systems between fuel cars, designed for pressure equalization during peaceful loading operations, now serve as highways for destruction. Within 20 seconds, burning fuel vapors cascade through cars 3 and 5, transforming 3 separate targets into one unified inferno. The massive fire creates its own weather system, generating thermal convection currents with updrafts and downdrafts exceeding 60 kilometers per hour. The remaining Ukrainian drones must now navigate hurricane-force winds generated by their own devastating success. Almost immediately, Russian crew members spot the second attack drone approaching car number 8. Their response is immediate, desperate, and mathematically futile. AK-74 assault rifles firing 5.45mm rounds at a target maneuvering in 3 dimensions at 160 kilometers per hour. It's like attempting to shoot a hummingbird with a shotgun while blindfolded on a roller coaster. The second drone's fiber optic cable snags on a railway signal post, limiting its maneuverability to a 30-meter radius. The operator faces an impossible choice: abort months of preparation or attempt precision warfare while tethered like a lethal yo-yo. He chooses precision. Meanwhile, the third drone operator battles convection currents rising from the inferno below. Wind shear throws his approach vector off by 15 meters. Small arms tracers streak past his camera feed like angry fireflies as he fights his own mission's success to line up the killing shot. The fourth drone operator watches his battery indicator. 18% power remaining, 90 seconds to target. Miss this approach and his drone becomes an expensive lawn dart in the Ukrainian countryside. At 3:50 a.m., synchronized destruction unfolds like deadly choreography. Drone number 2 slams into car number 8, while drone number 3 targets car number 11. Their shaped charges detonate within milliseconds of each other, creating constructive interference patterns. Instead of 2 separate explosions, the overlapping blast zones generate one sustained detonation that treats Soviet metallurgy like tissue paper. The sustained fires now approach 1,200 degrees Celsius, beginning to affect the railway infrastructure itself. Steel rails designed for 60-ton locomotives start warping under thermal stress that exceeds engineering specifications by 300%. Precision transportation infrastructure becomes twisted metal sculptures that would fit perfectly in a modern art museum dedicated to the futility of occupation. The fourth drone, running on 8% battery and pure Ukrainian determination, executes the mission's final strike against the locomotive itself. The PG-7VL-shaped charge punches through the engine block with mathematical precision, ensuring that even if any fuel cars survive, this train will never roll again. The economic mathematics are as elegant as they are devastating. $8,000 in modified commercial drones versus $2.4 million in destroyed rolling stock. 840 tons of fuel worth over $600,000. 3 weeks of supply disruption affecting 3 Russian armored battalions. Not even the most aggressive Wall Street hedge fund could deliver a 30,000% return on investment in under 5 minutes. At 3:51 a.m. on June 22, 2025, as smoke columns rise into the dawn sky like funeral pyres for imperial ambition, Ukraine delivered a message written in fire and precision. The age of asymmetric warfare has arrived, and it speaks Ukrainian. What began with a routine supply run ended with a demonstration that in modern conflict, victory doesn't belong to whoever spends the most money on weapons. It belongs to whoever thinks the most creatively about turning everyday technology into instruments of national defense. The engineer never finished checking his schedule, but he probably learned something important about the price of occupying someone else's homeland. The future of warfare just changed forever. What do you think comes next? Share your thoughts below in the comments section. And if you'd like to see more examples of how ingenuity trumps overwhelming force, check our video, Iran tests America's ghost bomber. Big mistake. Link in the description below.